Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Eddie Marcus one more time, spokesman and advocate of basic human rights for all people. My mission every time you hear me is to find some way to persuade you to pay some attention to the Spirit of God, to pay some attention to something that you can't see, can't touch, can't feel, and can't even imagine. But pay some attention to something that is real, something that is ideal to the real, something that is so ideal that is not here, something that is so real that you can't turn it loose, something that gotta be, and it's your job, it's your responsibility, it's your duty. What am I basically saying, ladies and gentlemen, is this, is that it's all about we the people. It's all about the individual. It's all about you. There's a scripture in the Bible about the rich young ruler. He asked Jesus, good master, what would it take to be saved? What would it take to get into the kingdom? What would it take, essence, to be where he is? Or to be with God, to be pleased. And you know all of those expressions that you can connect to that, representing all of the questions and statements that individuals have. And what was the reply? The reply was, go sell all that you've got and divide it amongst the poor and follow me. Now, the story goes the rich young ruler had a lot. And he couldn't think of that. Going, getting rid of all that he had. And he saw that what Jesus had nothing, traveling around here and say, follow me? Come on. And so he wouldn't do it. And the expression goes that it's easier for a camel to get through the eye of a needle. They said, now, you know how a needle is made, you know how a camel's back is made. It's supposed to, if you can get one blade through that, it's... Anyway, you're not supposed to be able to do that. At least that's what the story suggests. And so that meant no rich person would go be able to heaven. Now, that said, that statement alone, that expression alone says an awful lot. An awful lot. First of all, we're talking about rich. What they're referring to are things what we call wealth. It was referring to money. It refers to assets, cattle, slaves, rich, having something, a lot of it. Well, get rid of it. Why? Give it to the poor. They're the ones that's hurting. The poor, they're hurting. You want to be close to God? Get rid of that stuff. Look out for the poor. Don't be worried about yourself. Why you got a job? You want to work for God? Let God be your job. No, don't worry about eating. You'll eat. But your whole mission is to make sure that everybody eats. And when you're out there trying to make sure everybody eats, you're not trying to find a comfort zone. You're not trying to find you some big, nice home where you can say, this is my... Well, I don't even know how to refer to them. I'm so far from them. But you're bragging about your jets and stuff that you get. And you're supposed to be representing God. Now, what's the difference between what you represent and what's the devil represents? That's exactly what the Satan represents. That's exactly what evil is all about. And now you out here all caught up in it and trying to tell somebody about a God of love that if they pray to, gonna do for them what he did for you. Come on. Who gonna give them some money? Just cause you got your money from them. Who they got preaching to? Who they got a con to get some money? Well, see, ladies and gentlemen, when you move to a level of understanding of God and God's nature, then you can start seeing things as they really are. God is not about money. Every crazy person will tell you what money is about. Money is about division. Money is about control. Money is about total manipulation. Money is about boss. Money is about being God. Let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. There's a lot of people say they care a lot about you, and they really do. But when it comes down to you and money, you only mean just a little bit. You only mean just a little bit. Now, if you don't cost any money, people can share a lot with you if you're an okay person. But as soon as you start getting into that money, then you really start knowing what you're all about. And what does that reflect? That reflects you don't have any understanding of God's way. God's way is love. And it's not to knock you. My job is to expose you. My job is to tell you that the way that you live, the way that you've been taught to live, is anti-God's way. Let me say that again. In America, the way you've been taught to live, you know, the jobs, the 8 to 5, and get the paycheck, and get the minimum wage job, and the more middle wage job, and then the executive jobs, and the little money, and the middle money, and the big money, and the big mansions, and the little ghettos, and the big nice churches, and big fine graveyards, and the little raggedy graveyards can't get clean, and raggedy cars, all that kind of stuff. That's reflecting the world that we live in. That's all about money. Money. Everybody who got over there looking really good, houses and cars so fine, got money. Over here where you living in the ghetto, cars falling apart, houses falling in, streets, and you don't have any money. Now there's someone controlling the money, and it's not you. Somebody's manipulating the thing so that you stay just exactly where you are. You might not be on Mr. Joe's plantation out there chopping, picking cotton. You might even be driving the mail truck today. You might even be manager of a store. In fact, you might be manager of a 501c. You might be into that. But your money is a slave wage. And your standard of living is that of a slave. Why? Because you are a slave. You're not free. You're not free. Go, sell all you got and give it to the poor. And I'm trying to tell you about God's way. Now, when God's way, you don't have to worry about any of that. I just tell you, in God's way, every human being that follows in God's way, and I'm not talking about an individual. Individuals get screwed. But at the same time, it takes the individuals to make the group. So the question is, what about your faith? How deep are you? How deep are you? Listen, you see, there was a time when I spoke to people and I said what they wanted to hear. Oh, I was invited to speak everywhere. I could speak places and everybody would always applaud and go on, brother, you can do this, you can do that. But when I started speaking what I meant, what I mean, when I started telling the truth as it really is, then I found myself standing alone. And why? Because I speak about ending your commitment and love for money and offer instead love for one another. Not the kind of love that you thinking. I'm talking about the kind of love that protects one another. You know, for the people in the ghettos, you poor people, you know what I'm talking about. You've been suffering one way or another ever since you've been on the face of this earth in America or wherever you come from. You know how it hurts. You know how it means to be paining. You can't get your computer. You got a computer, but you can't get internet. You got this, you got that, but you can't get what you really need or what you really want. We know what that is all about. It's about a lack of love. And so I say these things to you, ladies and gentlemen, because they are so dear and they are so absolutely important. All of the things that's essential for survival, like food, clothing, shelter, education, and health care. Absolutely. Absolutely. Every individual desires these things, want these things, need these things. And the resources are here. The needs are there. You got the ability. Not only that, you got the gifts and the motivation. Because now this is how you get all your stuff. You've been getting it this way all the time. But before, you were limited by a control mechanism called money. Now that control mechanism has been removed. And now living in the world is almost like when you're living in God's way, it's almost like going to the buffet. Buffet. Now, all of you poor people, you know when you go to a buffet and all of a sudden you see you can get all this food, you going to go crazy. Then you find out when you, excuse me, when you've dealt with it a while, that it's not that bad. The food's going to be there, and it's going to be hot. You don't have to get it all at once. Then you start going back getting a little bit. And the next thing you know, you start getting a little regular food. You go to a buffet and you just eat a regular meal. You're not going crazy. Why? Because food is always there. You're not going crazy with cars because cars are always there. You're not going crazy with utensils and appliances and stuff like that because they're always there. You get the best stuff. Everything is the best stuff, and it lasts forever. You don't have time to be going through these things because you're so busy doing your career and gifts. And then you're creating so much that the nation is so overflowing until Mexico, Canada, and those other places that's around us, the stuff to start overflowing, they want to know what's going on. Now we showing them what it means to operate in the spirit of God's love. Now you got them doing it. What we've done, our light is beginning to shine. And as they begin to do it, now all of a sudden the light gets brighter. The light is brighter, and then that same stuff starts happening for them. Maybe we who started this might not be around. You know, this might take at least 10 or 15 years. But it starts flowing. The next thing you know, those nations on the outside of those nations start receiving the blessings. And now what has happened? The light of God has gotten brighter and brighter and brighter. And what? When I was said what they wanted to hear, they were all around. Wanted to hear more. But when I only started saying what I meant, telling the truth, I find myself alone. So what am I supposed to do? To stay alone. This is the way that we live in this world, and we must continue to live in this world this way. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so very much for giving me this your moment in time. And I hope it's worthwhile. Until next time, this is Eddie Marcus. Say goodbye.